Alright folks, Alan Rubel coming back at you for Ozark Mountain Outdoor Ventures. Special treat here for you today. We have a what not to do type of video. We're going to do 5 mistakes for bass fishing. Now I know you can use a lot of these mistakes across the board, and they're just mistakes we've all done and we all continue to do. But the more we talk about it, the more that we will be able to learn and to try and change our behavior as we go forward and just be better anglers altogether. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button to the YouTube channel, and let's get right into it. Alright, well, our first mistake I'm going to talk about this evening, and I know I have mentioned it in previous videos, and you hear it a lot across the board in YouTube, and that is listening to the fish. I think that is probably one of the most important things we can do, and oftentimes one of the worst mistakes that we can make is not listening to the fish. And really ultimately what that means is good or bad, taking notes, taking those mental images of what is happening in the moment, why things are happening. If you have success, what were you doing? Each fish that we catch is a piece of the puzzle, so you need to determine what you have done to trigger success, and then if you are not getting the success, if you're failing at what you're attempting to do, you need to try and figure out what you are doing wrong, and what you can change and adapt to try and make that change. So first one, it is that we need to listen to the fish, and really, you know, even learning about more, and we can learn about the species of fish that we are fishing at the time. And again, this is for bass fishing, but their behaviors and their tendencies and their triggers that you can do to trigger those natural predatory instincts. Basically, these fish are predators, and we can trigger those predatory instincts, those prehistoric instincts that they have no control over, to make them feed even when they're not hungry, or to be aggressive against another fish, say, you know, in the spawning for a bluegill or whatnot on the bed. But definitely listening to the fish is the first mistake that we make, is not paying attention to what the fish are trying to tell us. The second mistake is fishing for yesterday's fish. So I know we've done it all time and time again, and this goes beyond just bass fishing. You could be fishing for cat, you could be fishing for carp, you could be fishing for crappie from the dock, whatever the case may be. Oftentimes we get into that thought process of, this is my spot, this is my honey hole, the fish are here every time, and you know, we fish, we plan and we fish for yesterday's success instead of thinking in the moment and trying to learn and to grow. Oftentimes we will rely upon our success from yesterday to try and help us today, when it could be a completely different game. Again, that goes back to listening to the fish. If the fish aren't there, if the fish aren't doing what they normally do, if they are, great. Take notes on those minor, those would be those micro differences between you know, yesterday's fish and today's fish. You know, that goes to say, if you're, you know, fishing a tournament or fishing for the week, or you know, maybe you can only fish this every month or two. But if you're fishing multiple days, they might be doing something completely different from day to day. So start over, start fresh. Don't rely on yesterday's intel to get you through today. Work hard, try new things, and just persevere forward. And don't live in the past, live in the moment. All right, well, that brings us right into mistake number 3 that we often make, and that's being stubborn. I am hard-headed to the core. I get into a ritual and a routine. And once I find the niche that works well, it is very hard to get me to deviate to something different. So oftentimes that is a mistake we make, and this is probably one of my worst, is just being stubborn, not wanting to change. And that really goes to as if, you know, you're in that area, you're fishing, this usually works here, it's not working today, and we will just go on and on when we should be changing. We shouldn't be so stubborn. And this goes with what I've heard, and I think it is just a fantastic rule to go by, and that's the 1 hour rule. So if you got the perfect conditions, you show up to the fishing hole early. It's, you know, first thing in the morning, you're fishing, great conditions, and you're fishing for an hour with your favorite bait at your favorite spot, and you ain't getting a bite. You need to change. Put down your favorite bait, swallow your pride a little bit, make a change, adapt to the situation, and try your best to figure out what's going on with these fish that you know so well, and try and get them to do something different. So we need to roll with the punches. We need to be able to adapt. So that 1 hour rule in not being stubborn for a mistake is a great guideline to go by. So if you get to your spot and what you expected and what you had made a plan to happen has not happened within the first hour, you need to make a change, even if it's a minor change on a color, on a depth, on a speed of a retrieve, whatever the case may be. Whatever you're doing in the course of an hour has not worked, and you need to make a change, because continuing on with the same retrieve and everything across the board is going to be a mistake. So that would be the 1 hour rule would be a great tip for you on not being stubborn. All right, mistake number 4 we often make is in bass fishing is you know, we're covering a lot of water. You know, again, I'm talking about bank fishing for myself. We're moving along the bank, we're covering a lot of area, and that could oftentimes be a mistake. So tip number 4 is not slowing down. You need to slow down a little bit, fish that area a little bit more thoroughly, you know, make a couple additional casts, change the angles on that cast just a little bit, on that bit of cover that you've been casting to, and really just if you're just breezing through the area, if you're just glazing over the area, you could only be scratching the surface of what could potentially be in the area. Oftentimes, you've seen it before, I've seen it before in fish tank scenarios. You drop it in, and sometimes those little ones are the very first ones to get to the bait or the food, and really might take a few more tries to get down deep, to get into the deep cover and get those big monster bass to commit to a bite, and just literally the little ones not picking them apart before it even can get a chance. You know, and it could be just size of bait, whatever the case may be, but give it another chance, give it a few more casts, slow down, really think about the moment, think about the situation, and you know, critique yourself, critique the layout, try and anticipate slight differences in the contour of the area before you push through to the next area. Make sure that you have exhausted all your resources and you've tried everything that you can before you put a big check mark on it. Oftentimes we just mow right over the area, and if they bite on the first few casts, then great. If not, move on to the next spot, when we really could be bypassing those trophy fish that could just be laying in wait when it just would take one more cast in that same bit of cover. All right, well, this one is one that we all probably don't do enough, and that is Your maintenance on your rod and reel and your line, on your lures. You know, line is the big one for me. Sometimes it's just bringing yourself to change your line or check your line is such a tedious thing that often gets overlooked. I've got a few poles even as we speak that I need to, that have come down to the end of the spool, and you know, and I'm just casting and it's blink, it's just coming to the end, and I need to put new line on them. I don't use those poles or often as I used to, or I would put new line on there. But check your line if you've been fishing and you're pulling through heavy cover. Check your line for frays. If you've caught a big one, if you've had a lot of success that morning, go ahead, check your line, run your finger down the line, check your knot. If there's something that doesn't look right or doesn't feel right to you, go ahead, clip that off, retie. A fresh piece of line is better than missing the fish of a lifetime. Same way with your reels. I've got a couple reels that I've inherited, and they need a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of oil. They're doing fine, but you know, they don't sound the best, and probably could get a little bit better, smoother cast if I just give them a little bit of TLC, a little bit of oil, a little bit of love. And so maintenance on your gear is something that we overlook oftentimes, and that could be, you know, hooks on your crankbaits, your spinner baits. I lost a blade off my spinner here this year. It was just something, I don't know what the case was, but I didn't check it. So I don't know what happened to it, but it was a pretty new spinner bait. So, but just be mindful about your gear. And I know that's not something that correlates directly to, you know, fishing and fishing behavior or fish behavior, but definitely something we can always do. And just to help us in overall being successful is just maintaining our gear. It goes as far as your backpacks and your tackle boxes. Have you ever picked up your tackle box and it not be, you know, the hinge not be working properly and dump out all your tackle? If you've ever done that, it's a nightmare. So just one last thing that you could be doing or should be doing, and it could be a mistake if you don't, is just paying a little bit of attention to the maintenance of your gear. That way, you know, when you get there to your spot, your gear, you're ready to rock and roll, you're ready to go for the day, and those kind of things. So that's it really today on 5 mistakes we make in bass fishing. So again, I hope you liked the video. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button to the YouTube channel. We've got a lot of adventures still in store for you coming up this summer, so stay tuned with us.